Welcome to today's edition of Dream Firm Spotlight. My name is Tyler S. Clark, co-founder of Dream Firms, where we create generational wealth and impact for entrepreneurial accountants by systemizing how they attract, win, and retain the business of their dream clients. And to help you to do that today, it's important to understand that you cannot be the bottleneck in your firm. It's important to understand that talent and what it takes to acquire and retain that talent is completely different than it was a decade ago. And to help you with that, I'm going to reveal my crystal ball, and we're going to talk about the impact of the Great Resignation on the future of accounting. Now, of course, I don't have a crystal ball. Nobody does. But just like you, I work from a set of simple facts. And a lot of these facts are readily available to you. I'm going to drop them in the description down below in case you want to check this out further on your own time. But I'm going to go through over 3 statistics from the Great Resignation that really jumped out to me. And then I'm going to predict how I believe this will impact the future of this profession that we all have come to love. So here's the first thing, is when you hear the Great Resignation, you might think that the Great Resignation has resigned, but the Great Resignation is not over, ladies and gentlemen, as we sit here in the middle of 2022. Over a fifth, and I've got 2 different sources on this. One says over 40, one says over 40%, one says over 20%. I'm going to just take the middle and say 30% of workers plan to quit in this calendar year. So anyone who has a team, I want you to imagine a third of your team has decided to put in their resignation letter. Now, what does this mean? And this is not a prediction, but this is just more proactive advice to help you right now, is that retention should play an equally, if not significantly greater role in your team building than acquisition. You must retain the high value team members that are currently in your office and as a part of your team, because if you don't, they may very well be a part of that third that aren't just planning it, but actually do it. And then you're down another team member, and all of a sudden, guess who's work? All that work, who's that fall onto? That falls onto your shoulders. So if you haven't given them that raise to offset recession, you might want to think about it. And we're going to talk about how to make sure that regardless of the raises you give your team, that you yourself are not taking a hit to your wallet or your business bank account. And I'll explain that in a little bit. The second thing that really caught my eye was, yes, people are looking for higher salaries. 2/3 want more fulfillment. And so what that tells me is this is not just about money. While yes, money is a very important consideration, and the vast majority are looking for higher dollars for their output, they're also looking for it to mean more. And so when you're looking at these really large companies, your big 4, where a lot of the talent in the accounting space is and does not want to be anymore because they feel like they're a cog in a machine. Their work is not appreciated. They're not even trained appropriately from their managers. And if you go into the accounting subreddit on Reddit r/accounting, read the stories of the people who are getting put through the grind mill, and they are looking for opportunities with the smaller firms like your firms, where maybe they're not making the same amount, but they're also not working the same amount. So they are making more per hour. And guess what? They're directly talking with ownership. They're getting trained appropriately. And so when I'm talking about retention is important because they feel like they're a part of something bigger, and they don't feel like this tiny little inconsequential thing that could be replaced tomorrow. So fulfillment in terms of how they feel when they're doing their job is absolutely critical. And here's the third and final stat before we talk about how these statistics are going to impact the future of accounting. And this one kind of caught me off guard by a little bit. And I'll admit the source was a little questionable, but I still think it's worth saying. 26% of workers regret joining the Great Resignation. Now, this is from CNBC, and CNBC can sometimes be a corporate mouthpiece. So again, I take this one with a pretty big grain of salt, but even if that is partially true, what does that mean? And how can we take that stat and turn it into actionable information for your firm? Well, here's how this works. The grass is not always greener on the other side. If you've got a great atmosphere to work, you've got competitive pay, you let them participate in management decisions, you take feedback, you train them up, you really care, and you express that, you invest in your team, got maybe some good benefits. I know that's hard for smaller firms, but here's the thing. Know your limits in negotiations. There is a point in which this is no longer a good deal for you and no longer a good deal for them. And finding that happy middle ground means a lot, but you have to know where you're willing to say no and let them test the market. And oftentimes, sometimes 26%, according to CNBC, they may realize that this wasn't such a great move to turn in that resignation letter because I actually had it really good at that firm. I just didn't realize it because the grass isn't always greener. So let's talk about the future now. Now that we got our statistics out of the way, and there's a lot of statistics out there, but I thought those were some pretty interesting ones. Here's what I believe the impact is going to be on the Great Resignation. So as it relates to accounting specifically, anyone that's been paying attention knows that we are in an aging profession. In other words, there are not a lot of people coming into the profession, and that has a lot to do with the bigger players not doing such a good job of making sure that all of the workers are leading happy and enjoyable and protective lives, right? Like they're just not creating the atmosphere that allows for that to happen. And that might be the AICPA, it might be some other people, but my point is you've got a lot of power, you've got a lot of responsibility. It's important you wield that not just for the benefit of the big four, but you wield it for the benefit of all the smaller entrepreneurs out there as well. So here's the impact. When supply goes down, right, and demand stays just constant, let's just assume that there's no new tax laws. Let's assume the IRS doesn't get a whole bunch of money, although they already did. Let's just assume none of those things come to pass. If demand stays the same and supply goes down, what happens to the price, my basic economic majors, right? Like what happens? Price goes up. It goes up. And I want to share with you a really small story from a group coaching call yesterday that was just fantastic. Of course, no specifics on who this is, but this was a very lively conversation, and I know that it has happened to many of you. You start with someone, you give them a great rate. You're helping them out because they're small and you're a service provider and you care. And they slowly grow and grow, and maybe their price that they're paying you might slowly grow and grow. And then all of a sudden, they say, well, we're going to bring our accounting in-house. And what's fascinating about this is you go, well, how much are you getting ready to pay for this? And it's oftentimes double or triple what they are paying you right now. And they're expecting you to train that replacement and then do away with you. And so while we were giving them a deal, now all of a sudden it comes along and they're willing to pay double or triple for someone who's inexperienced in what they're doing, doesn't know the systems that you've built, and you're expected to train them for pennies on the dollar only to then no longer have the contract any longer. So here's the impact. That is going away. Entrepreneurial accountants are not going to do that, nor should they have ever done it in the first place, but it is simply not going to happen because the person who's going to come in and take that $70,000 job is not going to be there because no one is coming into accounting, or very few people are. So they're going to need to stay with the firm. And on top of that, they're going to need to respect the relationship by investing at the level that they used to need to for an internal person. And that's going to be a huge boon to you and your firm. So again, just understand that this is actually really to your benefit as it relates to the price conversation, okay? Now, here's the second thing. The impact is this as well, is that the need for specialization will increase as a direct result of the Great Resignation. Buyers are always looking for a higher level of result. They're expecting more and more. And if people are currently looking, or if people in jobs in the accounting space, if they are being asked to manage, let's just call it the tax planning division, and the tax planning division is responsible for 50 different industries, and they're taking clients nonstop. Think about the complexity of that manager and of all of the people that are implementing the tax planning strategies and savings, that they have to know all of these different rules and regulations and how they apply to all of these different industries. It's already lucky that they're specializing in tax planning, but now they have to be able to know everything about all these things, which means more mistakes happen. And buyers do not tolerate these mistakes. And so specialization will be a requirement in the future in order to retain talent, attract talent, and make sure that talent doesn't pull their hair out because they're being asked to do an impossible job. Third impact here. Work from home or bust, ladies and gentlemen. Work from home or bust. Yes, there are hybrid models. Some people want to be able to do that, have some time in the office. Some people don't want to do that at all. And what workers have realized through the pandemic is not only was it unnecessary for them to come in the first place to their work, they've realized that they're happier. And not only are they happier, they're more productive. They don't have to spend an hour, 2, 3 hours commuting per day or 15 hours per week. They can take that time and reinvest it with their family and doing things that they like. And they don't want to lose that time ever again. So if we're not prepared to embrace work from home permanently, you're going to lose out on 30, 40, 50% or more of the potential talent that's available to you. And honestly, it's significantly larger than that because your talent pool is like this. When you say you got to come into the office, work from home, your talent pool is like this. And even the talent in your area may not even want to come into your office. So you're shrinking it even smaller. It's like this now. Final part here, okay? And this is more of a shot across the bow to the entrepreneurial accounting community at large. And it is not remotely an attack. It is more of a, let's talk about this reasonably. Entrepreneurship, I don't care if you're an accountant or not, entrepreneurship is the greatest exercise in self-improvement. If you are not improving your skills, your beliefs, and your traits day in and day out, week in and week out, tirelessly, the market will pass you by. And the reason I bring this up is that whenever I talk to a prospective client, because my clients don't have this problem, a prospective client, and they say, Tyler, there is no help available. Nobody wants to work. It's hard. It's not hard. It's almost impossible to find good help. I go, maybe it's because we haven't improved your skills as it relates to attracting talent for how you write your job copy, the way you communicate the offer for the job, where you're placing the job, how you pre-vet and screen before you hire them, because you shouldn't just be taking their word that they can do the job. You shouldn't just be trusting the resume. You shouldn't even just be calling their referrals to make sure that they are who they say they are. Yeah, you got to do those things. But we also have to make sure that they are capable of doing the job you're asking for them. And when I go through this list, they go, well, yeah, I mean, we kind of try to do those things. It's, yeah, but there's a right way to do it that speaks to today's modern dream firm team member. And then there's the old way of doing it that speaks to the people who are not even listening anymore because they're looking for more. And so when you are looking at the impact on the future of accounting, it is incumbent upon the entrepreneurial accountants to not rely on the big dogs who are looking out for the big dogs. It's not incumbent upon us to rely on the AI CPA to help you. It's incumbent upon you to help yourself to make sure that you can develop the skills that ensure that the people want to work with you. Not only want to work with you, that they apply for the job, they show up, they're excited, they get onboarded, they get the proper training to do the job the way you need it to be done. And that is simply me saying the impact is there will be entrepreneurial accountants who recognize and hear what I'm saying, and they will continue to do well in the future. And then there are the other ones that hear this and they go, maybe I'll try and figure it out on my own. Maybe I'll just keep doing it the way it's always been done, and hopefully it gets better. And it's not going to. The market has changed fundamentally forever, and you have to change along with it. And if you don't, you'll be a part of the Great Resignation too, when you no longer want to even have your firm. And that is a sad, sad thing to think about. So, long story short, if you are part of those that are willing to change and adopt to what the market is requiring of you, the future could not be brighter. Prices are going to go up because demand is going to continue to go up, and the supply is going to continue to dwindle because a lot of people are going to drop out because they're not going to have what it takes to make these changes. But if you are looking to make those changes, we're looking to help you every single step of the way. So link down below, book a call to explore the Create Your Dream Firm program. My name is Tyler S. Clark. Thank you so much for joining me today. And I beg of you, do not be a part of the entrepreneurial accountants who join the Great Resignation, because you have not a single reason in the world to do that. Remember, only you can create your dream firm, but we are here to help you every single step of the way. Have a fantastic rest of your work week, everyone, and I will see you next week.